everyone, this is Katie from Maximum Edge, a CIC based in the UK, aimed at strengthening communities and the people within them. You can find us online at www.maximumedge.org.uk. We're also on YouTube, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Udemy and Facebook.
On today's episode, I sat and talked to Dave Sheridan. Dave's a personal development coach who runs two successful businesses, Maximum Edge CIC and Executive Solutions for You. We talked about the role of a coach, the role of personal development. We went into mindset, self-talk, and also we looked at behaviours. We touched upon how people can start transitioning back into their, in inverted commas, normal lives after the COVID epidemic. A great listen. Loads of good takeaways in here today. Thanks very much, everyone. I hope you enjoy it. Please subscribe, leave some feedback, and we'll see you next time. You had a conversation with Martin a few weeks ago. You were talking about the book, Who Moved My Cheese?
Yes, I was, yeah.
The first thing I sort of want to discuss is that, I mean, that's a book that I read maybe going back like 7 or 8 years ago, and I think you actually recommended it to me and gifted it to me. Yeah. And it's only a small little book in it, and we'll get on to what it says in a minute, but how important are the concepts and the ideas in that book? How relevant and important are they now in the current situation that we find ourselves in?
Well, I think I've got, again, going back to what I do professionally, I've got two heads on with it. I've got the corporate and the business side of the coaching, what we do. And obviously included in that is executive coaching and group days and various things like that. And then on the Max, we've got the community element. And I think what it's highlighted to me, going back to the book, is how people cope, really, when they've had the livelihoods affected through an external source that nobody could ever have thought it would be this impacted. So I think when you look at, Martin was on about some of the clients that he'd had and how they'd been coping, and that's why I recommended the book, that he read the book and he'd not done around the metaphor for the cheese and people just putting the life around the role and the job, what they do. And that gives them a lifestyle, and it gives settlement in the life. And then the focus, the external focus then is around hobbies and training and various things. Yeah. But the livelihood and the job provides the resources for all that, including the materialistic things like houses and cars and things. I think as soon as the Prime Minister basically said, right, we're all on lockdown, there's a percentage of the clients that I'm coaching with in both areas, from a metaphor point of view, had their cheese moved. Yeah. They got up one morning and it was all gone. And then there's almost an emotional roller coaster then around how do I cope with this? Mm-hmm. What do I do? Panic, self-talk, all that elements of it. So that was the beginning of the conversation with Martin.
Yeah, and I think that's part of like your work, and something that I'm obviously really interested in is how people cope with change. Yeah, because life is changing, constantly changing. And a quote that I often use by Tony Robbins, and it's something that I've used on some of the podcasts I've done for you, is the quality of your life is directly proportionate to how much change you can handle and uncertainty. Yeah. If you're not good at handling change, then you're going to have a pretty miserable life, aren't you?
Yeah, and I think it's all individual. So it goes. A lot of it comes from me from socialisation and how you were brought up, and the influences on you in your formative years. Yeah, will link directly into the quantity and the quality of resistance that you've got to various things. So I'll sit down with clients constantly, and it makes me laugh really. Obviously, there's a humorous side of my job as well. And you discuss where, the biggest thing is IT, and it's like you're getting, I'll go in businesses and they'll have a new IT system and they're just blaming computers. You know what I mean? It's like, it's really just quite humorous when you see people, how they cope with change. There's a blame factor there.
Yeah.
And obviously you've got probably a 2-foot piece of plastic with a load of metal in it, and they're going, it's that fault, it won't work. And it's just, again, it's very interesting when you look across. So I always say to clients when they're in that mode, we all have changes. If it's a change that we process and we like, it's called a surprise. If it's the process or something that we process that we don't like, we call it a problem.
Right.
But it's still change.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that we process it differently when we call it a problem, when it impacts on us, rather than if it's a surprise. You know, so it's
language in it, and the language that we use to describe things. Yeah.
It is. And I was talking with a client last week, and he was laughing because he gave me an example, which again, you've got to find humour in things, and I think there's a lot of seriousness around us at present. I'm not being flippant with the humour, but it does help people to move on and help people to cope. Mm-hmm. But it's like, you know, he'd been sat in his car and he'd been driving, so he's carrying on commuting and doing the work that he does, and for some reason he just focused on what he was having for his tea. Now I was laughing at it because it was his favourite meal, and he said it was spag bol. So he's focusing all day or whatever, looking forward to going home and being spag bol. And then when he walked through the door, the mince hadn't defrosted. There was a reason for it, and his wife basically said, "We're on curry and rice."
Right.
So he was like, he said the impact that had on me was weird after the conversations I'd had, because he was like, "Why am I being disappointed here? What's that about?" Self-talk, asking myself. And then he went back to the first conversation you started with the book, Who Made My Cheese?
Right.
He was like, I need to be more flexible and not as tunnel visioned with the stuff that I'm expecting coming up. Right. And he said that was just an example where my wife hasn't seen me all day. She's worried about me because of all the CV stuff that's going on. I come through the door and instead of getting a smiley face, she ends up like receiving a bit of a grump, which would be, "Oh, I thought it was on spag bol." So what it's done with him is it heightened how he was reacting to the various things.
Yeah.
What we do in pressure, we latch onto things. You know, so he definitely had uncertainty in his job. He was going out. He knew his family was worried about him. So he told me he latched onto the safety of, can't wait to get home and have a nice tea.
And when that didn't turn out the way he wanted, that made his head fall off. Like,
yeah. And it's got nothing to do with spag bol. It's got nothing to do with curry and rice.
Yeah, of course.
It's him and his thought processes of what he's latching onto during the course of the day.
Right. Yeah. And again, that comes down to like stuff we've spoke about, and it's something that, especially over this period we've been isolated and stuff that I've done in the past, your self-talk and what you tell yourself, the stories that you tell yourself.
Yeah.
I've been obsessed with a book recently, The Science of Storytelling. People will get bored because I've mentioned this a few times, but it's about the psychology behind the way we tell stories and our upbringing and how we form an identity. But it also goes into the theory of how you literally write a fiction book and how the two are intermingled. So I've been really, really conscious of what my self-talk has been like, especially doing these podcasts, being filmed, being on video.
Yeah.
Yourself, what am I saying to myself? And I don't think people realise, or some people might not realise listening to this, they actually talk to themselves in the first place. Yeah.
Me and Martin and another lad who you probably interviewed, Gaz, we did a corporate job probably 6 weeks ago now, and I do an icebreaker at the beginning called Story Cubes.
Right.
So Story Cubes is something that it's like a kid's game. So basically, it's 9 cubes like a dice, and each side of each dice has got a shape on it. So basically, what you do is you ruffle the dice, you ruffle the 9 dice, you throw them on a table, and you make a story up of what you see. So we had groups. I had a group, two sets of managers putting together these stories and these using story cubes.
Yeah.
But then the whole point of doing it, that probably took about 5-10 minutes, to be honest. And it was quite humorous, and they all got to know each other and we had a bit of a laugh with it. But the serious side of that is the subject was health and well-being. So the information that we were passing over a 2-day period for those individuals was quite personal to them. Right. So what I created was a trigger word. Now, I did a lot of sports and stuff like that, as you know. We'll probably go into it later on. But when you're playing rugby or football, whatever, and you've got a call. So you have a call for a series of moves, and you call it something because it's quicker.
Yeah.
I call them the trigger phrases or trigger words. So I called it story cubes. So during the course of the 2 days, I said, don't do story cubes. If you've understood something, yeah, acknowledge that you've understood it. But if you've not, don't do a story cube and say you have when you've not. Mm-hmm. Don't come in day 2 and say, yeah, I've read all that stuff you've given me, Dave. I've been on the podcast. I've looked at this and I've looked at that. If you've not.
Yeah.
So don't create your own story cube around your status in the group. Be honest within the group, but also link that into your life and your work life. Mm-hmm. So how many story cubes? And again, I've done a lot of work with unemployed and at-risk individuals, and they're masters of story cubes.
Yeah,
you know, it's always the boss that had it in for me. They never look at me being late 13 times.
Yeah, one of the things that's coming to this book is about cause and effect. We build narratives, don't we? So it's never us, it's something happened and that's why this happened.
And that's down to relationships as well.
Yeah.
You know, I've got corporate clients who's divorce number 1, divorce number 2, and they're heading towards divorce number 3.
Right.
You know, and it's like, what's the reason for it? And they'll always say, it's work, it's this, it's never them.
Yeah.
It's never them, it's always something else. There's a complex story cube.
Is that because then it's so difficult to look at yourself, or is it because they're not aware that it's them in the first place? Why would that be?
I think the whole point of that type of coaching is to hold a mirror up and be quite sensitive that the individual in front of you mightn't understand what they're doing and what the thought processes are, because they've never been given the tools to actually understand that. So never make assumptions either. You understand as a coach, you're dealing with people's lives.
Yeah.
Well, the other side is once that penny drops and you can put various things in place that mean something to clients that they can measure themselves by, then they'll start seeing differences.
Yeah, yeah.
So one of the guides that I put with this client was, you should be finishing at 3 o'clock. Go on, see your wife off tea. And he was like, you did exactly what you just done then. He just laughed, and I went, what's that? Why are you laughing? You know, I said, invest in your marriage.
Yeah.
Be proud of it. Don't feel that you need to stay till 7 o'clock every night. There are times, and that comes down to time management and delegation, where, you know, where is the stuff around family? And I think that's what this COVID-19 has made a lot of my clients look at, as inside the family unit.
Yeah.
And how they're functioning, and what the relationships are like with the individuals who are around them, sons, daughters. Some of them are living with parents. Some of them have parents living with them, wives, husbands.
Yeah.
Full scale, really.
Do you think that'll be something that will be a positive coming out of this isolation or this COVID epidemic, that people will maybe realise what is really important to them and not necessarily the material stuff, the keeping up with the Joneses? Do you think it'll be more like they appreciate the family more, they appreciate the time with the kids, all that kind of thing? I
think in an academic world, I'd say it would be really nice if that happened.
Yeah.
But I think it's a choice. It's a personal choice that I think a lot of individuals are driven differently.
Yeah.
By a coach. Some see the materialistic value of things as a guide of their success.
So a status,
a status, but an internal status rather than an external status. So I've coached sports people who can go out and, for instance, buy a new laptop. Well, what they'll do is they'll put that within the training regime. So within, when I've scored 4 tries, or I've scored 5 tries, or I've scored 3 goals, well, I'll go and buy a laptop then. So then it comes down to self-discipline. So that's how some individuals that I coach use the materialistic world. Businessmen, it's not the fact that they'll drive around in a brand new car. It's the fact that 6 months ago they've said, if I work hard and I go and get that contract and do this.
Yeah, so the reward.
Yeah. It's very misunderstood from outside looking in when you look at it being materialistic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, especially from what you're describing there, like a successful sports person or footballer. You see him driving around in the latest model of whatever car, and sort of society does have maybe a negative view on that, but I've never thought of it that way, that it is maybe the reward system that they've whatever goal they set out to do, the little steps they wanted to achieve for that season, that is their reward at the end of the season.
Yeah, and I think when you look at a season for a sports individual, and I'm not necessarily focusing on football, there are also seasons for business people. So when you get quarter 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3, depends when your books finish. So if you look in April to April for a financial year, from Christmas to Easter, is your quarter 4. So what are you going to do different in that quarter 4? It'll get you reward. Now, that might be a different location where you're going on holiday with your family. Somebody from the outside looking in wouldn't see that. They would just see in August you go into somewhere different.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't probably publicise the internal gains from that. Quarter 1 from April to say July, before they go on their holiday, are they setting goals there? Because I know a lot of them do. If it's Christmas to Christmas, and this is again different, if they're running the books from Christmas to Christmas, and I know some of the organisations that we work with, they'll down tools first week in December because they're in Christmas mode. Some of the clients that I work with, that's their quarter 4. So that's so important that they get the most out of that 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah,
and it's difficult that. Because, I did it with Max. I started off with exec. I was April to April. And then after 4 years, when we started Max, I put Max June to June so that it staggered the books.
Yeah.
But it gave me different goals. My quarter 4s changed completely.
I see what you mean.
Because everybody, it's quite well known in the profession as a coach that for some reason everybody gets out of bed on the 1st of January and wants change. You know what I mean? I don't know what that's about, but it does. So it makes that role very, very intense for the first, probably up to February half term.
Yeah, I can
imagine. The trends in your business, really.
Yeah.
For me, so you've got trends across the coaching arena. You've got seasons. You've got years, as in books and HMRC and all that. You've got academic years. So there's a lot of patterns that you look at, that I look at when I'm working with clients and where they fit in with that pattern, including my pattern.
Yeah. One thing that I'm interested in, we spoke about it maybe a few weeks ago. Obviously, through this period now, businesses have had to change the models, the way they work. Staff have been furloughed. Some staff are still working from home, so they've changed the way they do things.
Yeah.
That is going to affect staff mentally, the well-being, the motivation. So so it's been probably going to be 6 weeks, this isolation process, if it opens up again after this next update.
Yeah.
Staff have come to terms with what's happened, so the body adapts quickly to anything, really. So in the first week, there's all the grief phases, they're angry, they're blaming people, but then you settle down and you accept the role that you've been given, so working from home. We spoke about this a few weeks ago. When staff or colleagues are going to be going back to work, there's going to be a lot of issues around rituals, structure, routines, mental well-being. How can companies now start to think about what's going to happen when their staff start back? What can they put in place?
Well, we've been asked by 4 organisations to put a series of 2-day courses together,
right,
leading up to Christmas. And the threads of what business owners are telling me are around habits and triggers. I've called it the reset button. It's individuals going back to what they were doing after doing what me and you are doing now. There's also a convenience issue, I think, where it's very convenient, walk down in the morning and you pass it all, open your laptop up and carry on working.
Yeah.
Probably less convenient getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 2-hour commute into Manchester or Leeds or London, and then a 2-hour commute back. So I think you're right around change. It goes back to change, what we've spoke about. But equally, the 2 days that I've been asked for put together has been more around giving individuals different tools like self-talk, understanding themselves, understanding what the role and what the job gives the family and why they're doing it. There's a lot of specifics as well because the 4 organisations are completely different. So I think changing health and well-being is massive. Looking at tools for their own well-being, so the self-managing, giving them an opportunity to either contact me as a coach, because that's what the businesses are looking at, or the mentoring work, or the line manager. So some of the workshops are geared towards the mentors and the line managers as well, of upskilling them academically with some of the tools that we'd use as coaches, but also opening the mind into it's how people cope with change.
So is that one staff turnoff? You're running these workshops so people are straight into it, straight with the mindset stuff, the self-talk. So they've already got it there, ready to get back into the.
It's been different. They've asked me to cater for both, so that they're not in people's faces really.
Right.
And that's quite powerful. That because they know it's a sensitive subject. So some of them have said, well, let's put a structure in place, and if we've got a structure in place, like you're saying, we know where we are and what we're doing with that. But equally, others have said, let's give them a bit of time to settle in, because I want to see how they adapt themselves, and then if they're struggling, we can put it in place.
Right, yeah.
So they may come later. So it's not I don't think it should be a one-size-fits-all where you've got to go on different types of training as regards returning to work.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you an example. In the third sector now, there's a lot of volunteering going on, and we've been in contact with probably 8 or 9 locations across the region, either community hubs or food banks, who are providing a service for anything from chaotic lifestyles and addiction, all the way through to pensioners and elderly individuals. Nice. And that's a lot of that's through essential items and food parcels. So I'll give you a scenario. Some of the characters who are turning up at the food banks are employed, but they've been furloughed.
Yeah.
And what we've found is some of them just want to help. They want to keep themselves occupied and they want to help, which has been really powerful in the third sector. Mm-hmm. But what the third sector then are looking at large quantities of individuals who have not got a lot of experience in the community and are not used to working in deprived areas, and understanding that listening is important, and all the skills that we look at when we look at working in the third sector.
Yeah.
So they've asked for some training packages to upskill the volunteers. They've had instances where volunteers have turned up, they want to help the community, and within 2 days they're crying their eyes out because they're seeing kids go hungry, and woman's coming to the door saying, "Oh, it's terrible here," and this, whatever's going on, and they're not trained for it. Mm-hmm. So through Endeavour, a lot of individuals have been, I think, looking at the communities in different ways. So some of the hub managers have asked me, could we do some almost informal stuff around these volunteers returning back to work? Yeah. Some are saying, I want to carry on doing this. They've got a call in, really. So I want to carry on.
Yeah.
And then the hub managers are in a funny position where they go, actually, after 6 weeks, mate, you might end up back either in a bank or in a warehouse, or you're going to have to go back. And they're unsure because they don't want to disappoint, and they don't want this period to be negative for that individual because they're giving their free time up.
Yeah.
So again, that puts it puts a completely different perspective on the community, and that for me is what I've witnessed as regards the massive merge that this has given us.
Mm-hmm.
From unemployed people receiving support, and I'm not generalising when I say unemployed, but let's just say at risk, receiving support of strangers and not wanting anything back.
Right, yeah.
It's been powerful for individuals to accept that they're either furloughed or they're working from home or whatever they're doing. If they're furloughed, then how do they occupy their time? A lot of intelligence, active individuals have been told to stay at home and exercise, and it's difficult. So some of them have said, right, I want to go and volunteer.
Yeah.
I want to do 2-3 mornings a week. I want to deliver to a food bank. I want to put some parcels together. I want to do some pickups and deliveries, and I'll use my own car. I'm okay with that. We've had a lot of instances like that across the region. But again, going back to your question, Dave, it's the flip side of it when they return back to work.
Yeah.
And I think it's about in my area of work now, I've called it a transition phase. So there'll be a transition phase from the COVID-19 growing and engulfing us all, and it's affected everybody differently. But there'll also be a transition phase where people start relaxing or being given permission to go out or mix or start involving themselves again with families.
Yeah.
And there'll be different emotions flying there because there's no guarantees that they're not going to get it.
I know. What do you think as just as us talking, like, without any sort of business or community connotations, just your own opinion, what do you think is going to change now that we've had this COVID? When we go back, do you think people will be more? Do you think they'll carry on with the supermarket restrictions, like 2 meters apart and all that? Hardly handling money because no one handles money anymore for fear of the passing it on.
I think there'll definitely be legacies. I've got asthma, as you know. There'll be legacies, so I would think with me and my family, if I got invited to a 40th wedding anniversary in October, I'd think about it.
Yeah.
If I got invited to a wedding in August or late August, even if it was a small wedding, I think I'd be thinking about it.
Yeah.
I think that's the effect that it'll have on everybody, really. I've seen a lot of frustration with individuals who are active, who have got asthma or any of the highlighted sort of areas that they've said stay in.
Yeah.
That's where we've been doing a lot of online coaching. What's there for them, really? It's nobody's fault. It's not a blame culture. You couldn't have brought this down in January and gone, this is what's going to happen.
I know.
So I think there's an element of, you speak about it quite a lot, really, of living in the moment.
Yeah.
I've not been personally myself. I've limited the time that I'm taking in any information, either from press or social media or anything like that. I focus just on me and my family and my immediate individuals that I'm with and what I'm doing and how I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Because you can't control that other stuff.
Exactly. I've concentrated on what I could do, what I can control. Again, going back to like Stoic philosophy and stuff we've spoken about before. What can you control? What can I do that's positive? So looking at doing these podcasts, these videos. We've been decorating the house, so having routine, structure.
Yeah. Did you say you have then? Oh, you have?
I have.
Right. I have. Okay.
A lot of still working from home and that, so she'll come out of me now, she is this, but we didn't want to come to a compromise that we didn't want her weekends to be wasted decorating, while she's working all week. So I do like the morning. So just before I've been on this with you, I've been finishing off the landing painting and that.
Yeah.
Just the structure and getting stuff done what normally you'd put to one side?
Listen, I understand it, and I think it's quite sensible. I know part of the philosophy around time is how do you spend it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's like there's different metaphors that you can use, but how do you spend your time? I think that's another question that people will start asking themselves.
Yeah.
How have I spent the last 5 or 6 weeks because I've had the restrictions imposed on me. Then the question will be in that other transition that I just spoke about: how will people move forward? Will they not be going into various environments as often? Have they picked up new habits that they value rather than the external habits?
Yeah.
So again, what you're saying around decorating and stuff. I mean, you were laughing about it when you said we, because I know Laura's working, and I just want to punch you on film now. But it's true. She's doing her bit, and I think it's quite powerful that you're doing your bit, and that's what makes the house work. That's what makes a relationship work.
Yeah.
And I think that's just an example, Dave. When you look at other families that I'm working with, sometimes it's a little bit, let's just say, lopsided, and that's where the relationship is tested.
Yeah.
When it's about giving and taking, as we all know with that.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of memes knocking about, like, before, when we was in, like, the first week of this lockdown and that of how many sort of divorces there are going to be after this COVID-19, because people maybe aren't used to spending so much time with their family. So that's what I was saying before. Maybe it is going to change people's perception of, again, how they spend their time, but understanding that, do you actually get on with you? You know what I mean? Are you enjoying the time you spend with your partners, your kids?
It is, and that's part of the. I think that's part of the challenge. There's a lot of reflective stuff going on as well around. I think that's what will come into. I feel the decisions to go back to work will be. You realise what you've got when you've not got it, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So just before you lose, or you think you lose something, it takes on a whole new level.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Interesting, because when people come out with that statement, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. And I don't want to talk. Obviously, there's people who've lost loved ones during this COVID.
Yeah, totally.
But it's interesting that you don't know what you've got till it's gone. But it's only, in this case now, it's temporary. So eventually we might get it back.
Yeah.
So normally, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. You never get it back. So it's easy to say in hindsight. But now we might actually get this thing back. So it might make you appreciate something a little bit more, knowing that it's not gone. You've just got time to reflect on, for this temporary time it's gone, but then you might get it back. So it might make people act a little bit differently. And
again, Dave, that goes back to what you said before around how do we think we're going to come out of this?
Yeah.
I think that's key, will be how individuals start looking at a restaurant or a pub.
Yeah.
Do they look at it as, well, it's just what I do and it's normal? Or is it, no, actually, I appreciate it now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go and I'm going to, it's going to be special.
Yeah.
But then when you've been doing it 5 or 6 weeks, is it?
And I
think definitely, and I think that's where a lot of the clients that I'm working with in all areas, the reflective tools that we use as coaches are so important to reflect back and reflect learning journals, making journals, creating your own personal journal. All that element is not doing it. It's drawing a line under it and looking back 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And have a series of questions in front of you that will take you through different depths of thinking. Just general. I mean, one of them is like, obviously, I've just been doing it with my son now, but it's like, what's your favourite music? What have you enjoyed this over the last 6 weeks?
Yeah.
With him being 8, it's probably what he's did yesterday, you know what I mean? But there's so much stuff that he's done, like camping, reading, Peter Rabbit 2, Kindle, this, you know what I mean? There's a lot there. So as an adult, what I'm trying to do is show him that there are other things to do. He's really gone on the usual gaming stuff. We've got a Wii, but he'd sooner camp in the garden.
Yeah.
You know, again, for me, it's just how we reflect back on it. And a lot of business people don't have the correct reflective tools around them, really.
So is that something that's quite new to the business industry then, all the journaling and reflective stuff? And
I wouldn't say it's new.
Or just being sort of accepted as this can be useful?
Yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot there now that are understanding that the mental process of reflection that you can learn from.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just around doing it. So, you know, I had a meeting today and it was this, and then I sat with the clients and I did this. It's more of an overarching. When you look at the theory of it with the questioning, it's taking your client through those different phases of thought.
Yeah.
What's more important to them and letting them prioritise it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of generalised stuff out there, and I hate the word, you know, when you look at goals and setting goals and this and that and whatever, but sometimes that can get lost. It can get lost in the reflective tool and looking and going, right, what have you done over the last 12 months? Let's move your business forward. What areas are they?
Yeah.
You ask yourself the question if you're intelligent. I don't need phone. You come round my house and go, Dave, come on. And you go, what have you done in the last 12 months, Dave? You know, so when you're dealing with intelligent individuals, they just need probably a bounce-off period as well. I call it a bounce-off period where they'll have all that information there ready for when I turn up. And that's quite powerful, that, because they'll go, I've increased my staff by 4, I've got this, I've made this much profit on that, I've got a really good team around me, but I think if I'm looking at growth in the next 6 months, I don't necessarily need that person as in a name, I need this type of individual regarding behaviour.
Right.
I don't want somebody who's really skilled, I want somebody who has got a good knowledge and they've got good rounded skills where they could fit in and do little bits of this, little bits of that, and then I'll sit with them and basically go, well, that's your interview process then, isn't it? So you know what you're looking for when you're looking at your interviews.
Yeah.
You're looking to ask the right questions in interview to get to so that you can form a good database of information around the skills that you need to bring into your business.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, yeah. The thing about asking better questions is something that has appeared to me more and more, like the podcasts I listen to, the books I've read, the people I've spoke to, yourself included, Gary Fletcher, who we referred to before, Economic today, and that is a powerful thing, isn't it? Asking yourself better questions or asking people better questions.
Yeah. And I think when you look at the questioning, if you go back to pure academic areas, the academic tools that are out there around questioning, around listening, around learning, teaching, they're all there.
Yeah.
They're all there. What you've got to try and do as an individual is mould it into something that works for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difficult bit. So you've got to mould it with the clients, understanding their personality, understanding their concentration span.
Mm-hmm.
So it can't be a one size fits all, and that's where a lot of the general coaching things or models fail down because they're not personalised and not individualised to the clients sitting in front of them.
Yeah. And
a lot of responsibility for the coach then is to bring in a quantity of academic resources that will help, that are proven, but equally a quantity of personalised resources for that coach, which links into their life and their experience and what's used for them in different areas. Yeah. So that's why when I'm out, well, obviously you know me about more than most, but you know that's why when I started my business, I didn't just want to be either a business coach because I'm in business.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, you're still working with people. You're working with behaviour.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's the cross stuff around sport, the cross stuff around risk, the home office stuff that I've done, all that elements all comes together with the client sitting in front of me.
Yeah.
So there's the academic stuff that you can look at in depending which area you're working in. But then should have a whole host of other reflective tools, including questions and question structures that will support that client and take them to the next level of thinking.
So how difficult is it for you to, because you're saying that it's not a one-size-fits-all, you've got to cater it and tailor it for the individual client. How difficult is that for you if you've got, say, I don't know, you might see 5-6 clients in one day, and you've got to have an individual tailored approach for each client?
Yeah. No, that's a skill of it. Yeah, that's a skill of it. I think part of the the answer to that, really, when you say, is it difficult? No, it's not. Purely because I love what I do.
Yeah.
So I think when you're doing something that you're into, that you love, it doesn't become a chore then.
Yeah.
So so the learning side of it for me, I'm sitting in my office now, and I've got you on a screen, and you've been in my little office anyway, but it's just littered with academic books and various areas from different things that I can pull from. So I've got a physical note of reference here for me.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily use a lot of the internet stuff because anybody can go and get it.
Yeah.
It'll be there, and you can just throw it in. If it's totally internet stuff.
While you're there in your little office, you've got all those little wonderful books knocking about.
Yeah,
can you pick us 3 books that you'd recommend that people read, or that change the way? Just 3 books. Doesn't have to be the top 3, but 3 that come to mind that are relevant.
Right, here we go. I've got one there.
I've just sprung that on you, but
no, it's part of what we do, mate. It's part of what we do.
Because I know the kind of books that are in there, and I think for people who are listening, might be interesting to some new books.
I've got loads actually. Let's have a look. I've got things actually. There we go. 3 randoms that stick to mind. I've got Stephen Covey. Okay, I know you mentioned that in the previous podcast. Effective people. That's there. I've got stuff from Matt Haig, Headspace, reasons to stay alive, and stuff like that. I've got Shapeshifter Jeff Thompson.
He's an interesting character, isn't he?
Well, if you think about it, this is what I've just been saying. You've got 2 individuals there that I'm on about that is like Stephen Covey and Jeff Thompson. Poles apart.
Yeah, I know.
So you might get 1% of each one that might fit a client.
Yeah.
So that's how I use the stuff that I'm doing. I've got Tim Paradox, Steve Peters when you're on about self-talk. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's a whole array of my personal library of what I've got. Fear is another one. You know what I mean? False emotion appearing real, all that elements of it. Well, that's the 3rd one, is the mindfulness one. And I think you've got. Have you got that?
Yeah, we have, yeah. We practice some of the meditations on it and that as well, yeah.
So if you think about some of the structures that Covey's got, are there, and they're quite academic, because they always work in pyramids and graphs, don't they? You know what I mean? So there's all that elements of it. Thompson, for me, comes from a sporting background, and author, very respected author, has got a background on the streets as well.
Yeah.
Very, very respected martial artist, working with emotions and understanding how you stretch yourself with emotions and fear pyramids and various areas like that.
Yeah.
And then new kid on the block comes along called mindfulness that you've been doing for years and years. It's in context, but it's how it's put together for...
Yeah, packaged. Yeah.
So I thought I'd pick 3 completely different ones, which is...
Good little lottery, that. But yeah, that Stephen R. Covey, I did refer to that in a podcast episode I did for you recently. One of my favourite ever sort of like concepts and ideas comes from that book, and it's about going back to the storytelling that was on before, but understanding before being understood. So understanding someone else's like model of the world, where someone else is coming from, before you try and put your point of view across or your model of the world onto them.
Yeah, and I think as well, Dave, what that does, that comes down to listening skills as well.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to listen to process.
Yeah.
I know we're getting quite deep with this now, but you do. You've got to listen to process. If you're talking, you can't listen.
Yeah.
So I always say that in board meetings with people who are coaching, who are running board meetings. If a person's talking, they're not listening.
Yeah.
So if they're constantly talking in a meeting, how much are they taking on board? How much are they listening to?
Yeah. What I find interesting as well is the people, and I'm guilty of it myself, and it's only through this process of maybe doing the podcasts, a bit more sort of taking the class at jiu-jitsu, so a bit more being up there at the front. I'm understanding more that the gaps between the conversation. Are you listening, or are you just waiting for your opportunity to speak?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think after speaking to some clients, that's the frustration that they've found on platforms like Zoom. Have you been on Zoom?
I did a podcast yesterday. What's going to be published this week, and we use Zoom instead of Skype.
Yeah.
And when I've seen it recorded, it pops up whoever's talking, doesn't it?
Right. So one of the frustrations people have come to me around that earlier is that they've got 4 photographs on top, and then the main one is in the middle who's speaking.
Yeah.
And how often people try and talk over each other. That's why I just try and do it with you. You know, it's when you talk over somebody, how often does that happen in the boardroom? But you don't realise you're doing it.
Yeah.
It opens it up massively when you look at these online platforms. It makes you understand that it's quite confusing when you start listening to different, but it's almost taken as a norm when you're all sat in a room together.
Yeah.
So I think there are going to be differences going forward as well. Those sort of boardroom discussions, that's just me with clients, you know, how much are you listening? Don't perceive it as being passive and just not having an input into anything.
Yeah.
You're better saying 4 words and it making sense as going at it like a bull in a china shop for 20 minutes. Exactly. And everybody just forgot what you've said anyway. You know what I mean?
I think we used to run a team talk, previously called Annie's Man Club. I know there's a team talk now in St Helens over at Saints, isn't there?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Men's talking group. No sort of prejudice or no judgmental or anything, just men coming together talking. And one of the biggest things that I found after facilitating those groups for a period of about 18 months was the listening aspect. People didn't want to come to hear maybe you tell them either what to do, or it was just someone to listen.
Yeah.
And not offer anything back or signpost whatever, but just the fact that you were listening. You wasn't on your phone. You was listening. You was sat there. You was present in the moment. There was no distractions. You didn't judge. You just listened so they could offload. And that was one of the biggest kind of feedback points that we got from doing that group. Just the active listening. Yeah.
And it's, again, that's what I'm saying about the breadth of clients that we're working with. That's it doesn't matter if you're in the boardroom or you're sitting looking at in a job interview. You know, those types of things. Have you got those skills? Yeah. Are you aware of those skills? Are you aware that you do jump in? And you might jump in because of nerves, or you might jump in because you feel very strongly about something. But at the end of the day, are you aware that you're jumping in? So every time you jump in, you're jumping on somebody else, and it's almost like plaiting fog in the end. You know what I mean? It's a very interesting aspect of the role, mate.
Yeah, I mean, even down to, I spoke about it with one of the first podcasts I did with my mate Paul. That whenever you start to say something or someone asks you a question, what is the first thing that comes out of your mouth? Is it or how do you fill that silence? And one of the things that I went on a media training package, and and it was, don't say anything, just breathe. When someone asks you a question, just breathe, and then give the answer that you want to answer with, rather than trying to fill it straight away with, so.
Yeah.
Say what you want to say.
And I think that background with the teaching stuff, when you do your training, you do micro teaching, it's brutal. You know, when you teach a 5-minute session, and then you've got 30 people critiquing it, from your language to your body language to what you're doing with your hands and how you're looking and what your gait is. Are you just talking to one side of the room, or does everybody feel included?
When you bring that up, I helped you out a while ago now on a project that you did at CP United. And
you did, yeah.
Keith was there as well.
Yeah.
And you delivered your segment of the workshop, and it was something new for me, so all new learning and that. And I was given opportunity to give a bit of a workshop on visualization, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know Keith had filmed it.
Right, okay.
So he let me crack on and do it, and the session got delivered. And after that, he sent me this WhatsApp video of me delivering the session. And looking back at it now, I cringe by it. But I was sat there, again, body language, I was hunched up. I was sat on the desk, not being comfortable being stood there in front of the class, hunched over onto the desk, sat on the corner, and my foot, I was swinging me leg. And all you could make out in this delivery was me swinging my leg. So that took the whole visual cue from the session. Yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up.
And I think as well, because I was in on that session, obviously, but you can be overcritical with it. I think sometimes, I know the feedback that we got off those types of sessions was the information was received really positively.
Right.
But you looking at yourself and critiquing yourself, it'll make you cringe because that's what you're noticing.
Yeah.
Whereas I know some of the feedback that we got off the players that attended was really positive about the knowledge that you passed on.
Yeah.
But that stays as a norm, which is the knowledge that comes out of your head and you're delivering. Yeah. What you're looking at is you're not thinking about that. You're thinking more around the tone of your voice, what your hands are doing, your legs swinging. Yeah. And you've not got to, you've not got to be overcritical, and that's what I say with people going into this type of environment where you stood in front of people. If you're not comfortable with yourself, that's your first barrier.
Yeah.
I know I'm not going to, you know me quite well, I'm not going to be getting in skill pants again, am I? You know what I mean? So I think if you're not comfortable with yourself and you're comfortable in the topic that you're delivering, of which I know you are, they're the first two barriers that people have got to come overcome. Definitely. And the sound of the voice as well.
That's been a big to people on the podcast and stuff, isn't it? Yeah. Again, it's some advice that I got a while ago. You've just got to get over it.
No, it's repetition, and we do a lot of public speaking workshops, man. And I think a lot of I always say to individuals, when you're rehearsing the public, doing anything from public speaking, you've got to rehearse it in the mirror. Mm-hmm. You've got to tape yourself, and you've got to record yourself.
Yeah.
You've got to desensitize yourself from all that emotion, what you're on about.
Yeah.
Before you can really start to focus on the message that you want to give people. Yeah. So if you've got a massive hang-up about your weight, or a massive hang-up about your unkept beard that you've now got, or anything like that. Lockdown beard. But what I'm saying is, they're all percentages of hang-ups that you'll have and distractions. Even your clothing, your routine, what you do before. If you understand how you rehearse and how you practice for a presentation or a speech or whatever it might be, there's only a small percentages of clients that I work with that are actually nervous about the audience. A lot of it is personal stuff.
Yeah.
I'm linked with how they feel and how they look and the message that they're given. But if they're a professional, they know the message that they're given.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just desensitizing themselves from the voice, the image, and then the habits and whatever you do on stage. You know, the way you move and the way you talk, and does it look natural or not, or is it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I've been very conscious of, since that video, and as you know now, I run a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academy, so I'm in front of the class, 5, 6 times a week. And going back to your point, initially when I first started doing that, again, it was out of my comfort zone. But I was rehearsing the lesson before actually delivering the lesson. I was rehearsing the contents of it, what the techniques were, what my delivery was going to be, the points I'd pick up on, the little details. So now it has become a little bit more second nature, but definitely use that as a tool to rehearse the session I was going to deliver beforehand. Again, to sensitise it, to get over all the little hang-ups I was going to have about my appearance or my delivery, whatever it was going to be. That act of visualisation and rehearsing definitely helped. It was massive.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So just before we start finishing off, because we're nearly done an hour now, believe it or not, that hour's flew by. Going back to you personally, you've got all this. I wanted to touch on the role of a coach, but we may do that at a later date. But how do you come in? You've had a hectic day at work. What do you use to relax? How do you sort of escape? I know you love the work, you're passionate about it, so you don't see it as work. But how do you switch off? What do you use to switch off?
Again, that's changed as I've got older. When I started my career off, I used to do a lot of physical stuff. So I'd use sport as a stress management. So I played rugby. I'd go kickboxing. I'd do a lot of stuff. There was physically getting the stress out of myself, and then returning back into my environment a lot calmer. I created a habit of finishing work and going to the gym and getting rid of it.
Yeah.
I would say that worked really well for me up to the age of 32, 33. Sadly, as my asthma developed and the physical element of me, it's the age thing. You can still go to the gym and you can still be active, but you can't do what you was doing at 20.
Yeah, of course.
So I took on other tools, other hobbies to get me out. Things like archery, reading, not reading for work, reading just novels and light reading and topical escapism reading. Done some stuff around yoga, meditation. Not necessarily, I've just recently done TM. I've done a course on TM, which is really good. Transcendental meditation.
That's your mantra.
No, secret. Can't do that. No, it's somewhat personal for me that I can, and sometimes with the TM I'll do it as a leaver client.
Right, yeah.
So I'll, and again, this is just me being a bit weird and odd, but I'll finish with the clients. I'm sat in the car park. I'll put my sunglasses on. Nobody knows I've got my eyes shut, and I'll do a bit of TM for 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. I'll put an alarm on my phone, and they think I'm talking on my phone.
Yeah.
It's a personal thing for me.
Yeah.
So that when I start my journey back home, I'm in a better frame of mind and I'm listening to a bit of music. I'm not doing any calls or anything like that. In between clients, I'll do calls in between clients. And obviously I'll take calls on that last one as I leave wherever I'm leaving to come home. It's purely a bit of TM and then music.
Yeah. That was a good little... you did a series on the Max Edge podcast about like just 2-minute little podcasts on the journey home, your morning routine, these little moments that you have to yourself that can be used for the reflection, they can be used to wind down, can't they?
And it can be misunderstood as well, Dave. I know a lot of really, really dedicated individuals in the holistic therapies areas, and sometimes they're misunderstood because of the delivery aspect of it. Mm-hmm. That's what mindfulness is. It's about unraveling your mind. It's about a technique and a tool to slow your thought processes down. I went to all confidential, but I can't really tell you the guy's name. But I sat with a guy probably 7 years ago, and he asked me a question. He made a statement and asked me a question. It was very, very clever, and he basically said, everywhere you go in a public building, by law, you've got to provide a room to get rid of your physical waste, which is a toilet.
Right.
Well, sadly, there's nowhere where you can get rid of your mental waste.
Interesting, yeah.
And he said, what you've got to create when you're going in to various organisations is that you create a safe environment sometimes where people can get rid of the mental waste.
Yeah.
And then that conversation years ago prompted me to ask myself the question of how do I get rid of my hang-ups, my anger, my emotions. I need to do it differently now.
Yeah.
So because it makes me a better dad, makes me a better husband. It just, again, it's about being aligned. So I'm aligned when I'm in work and I've got my head and body in the same place. But equally with different tools that people can take on board. And again, the tools are not just one size fits all, because I've learned this over the last 7 years that, you can come in on the door with your family and you can be aligned with your family. So I know now when I need to be aligned being dad, when I need to be aligned being husband. I was also very aware where I was aligned when my dad and my mum were here. Mm-hmm. So with that, when I was son, so the roles that we take in life, what it does, it creates the awareness of what where you are and what role you're taking, and you can do that if you've got the right tools around you. With you can get rid of the stresses, so you can be yourself.
Yeah. One thing I want to touch on before we do go, and it's something that I have conflict with in my own head. The role of I don't know what do you refer to yourself as a coach, consultant? How do you refer to yourself in your job?
I struggle with that, really, to be honest.
Because, you must have it all the time. When people think of life coach, it's a bit wishy-washy. It's a little bit airy-fairy. How do you refer to yourself in the job that you do? Because I know you do not refer to yourself as a life coach. I know that.
No. I basically, if I'm with a new client and I work with personal development.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I work with personal development, so I'm not, because when you work across the areas, it means different things to different people. So it's if I go into a sporting environment and I call myself a coach, mm-hmm. You're thinking that I'm either a rolling ball or catch a ball or bowl a ball, and I'm not. Their terminology is a psychologist. If I'm working with an unemployed group and I call myself a coach, probably over the last 4 years, they've introduced that word into some of the advisors. Mm-hmm. So they think you're an advisor, as in an employment advisor. So the word coach can be taken so many different ways, from a life coach to a business coach.
Yeah.
So that's why I just explain to people, say, I introduce myself and I work with personal development.
Yeah.
And then that prompts usually on what's that? What's that? And then it depends what area I'm in then. Mm-hmm. So if I'm studying a networking event, I can go down that route.
Yeah.
But also I can have the sporting. I can have if I'm in a third sector meeting, and I'm still working with personal development, lifestyle management, different terminologies that I use. It goes back to listening, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I know what they're listening to. So I know if I say something like a terminology like life coach, the percentages may switch off.
Yeah.
And not listen afterwards of what I've got to say, because they'll just hang on to that.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah. So I've been called a few things as well, by the way. You know what I mean? I've been called a few names, and genuinely I've been in environments where it's people just don't get it.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but then it's how they display when they don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
The image that comes to mind is always the Office, David Brent. And he's doing the Tina Turner, "You're simply the best," and he's on the stage at the end because they ask him to be a business consultant or whatever, life coach.
Yeah. It's just, it is the role that I've created for myself with the clients that I work with is very multifaceted. You know, it's not just systems or the academic stuff or the when you see stuff on social media, you know, you've got the sunrise with the silhouetted individual with their arms open, all that elements of it. You know, it's all there for a reason, but it's just not me, to be honest.
Yeah. I think personal development, the language that's used, personal development, I mean, definitely personally, that's something that would be like, hurt me ears up.
Yeah.
Certain life coach, it's like, I've
come across so many terminologies for the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, change agents. I've had one of them. I met a change agent when I was networking one day.
Yeah.
Lifestyle
management is one that's used in like the third sector a lot, isn't it? Lifestyle management.
Yeah. So it comes. I think genuinely as well. It comes from not having an officiating sort of governing body.
Yeah.
Where people can call themselves what they want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like personal trainers, you can get a personal trainer qualification in like a week, can't you, online? Get a piece of paper there saying you're a personal trainer, but
yeah.
One like, does it? So.
No, not really. Well, you might be a good one, and you might just need a piece of paper. But I get what you're saying. It's you're investing in somebody's life, aren't you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know, they bring to the table what they bring to the table. You know, it's important. Man.
I know. So just before we finish off, mate, is there any takeaways you can give us that might maybe help us when we're coming towards the end of this COVID epidemic? Hopefully, fingers crossed, we're coming towards the end of it. People starting to transition back into the normal everyday lives that they had before. Any sort of takeaways that people can start looking at? Maybe looking at the self-talk, the routines, anything that they can look at themselves to start.
I think we're judged. I think a lot of it. First of all, I'd say we're always judged on our behaviour, not our emotion.
Mm-hmm.
So have a think about how you're displaying. So that transition period, you know, somebody who may be nervous inside emotionally might be displaying anger.
Right.
As regards, no, I'm not doing that. And it'll escalate. Whereas actually what you're seeing isn't the emotion. The emotion is that person's nervous. You probably just not have the tools to express it.
Right, yeah.
And that goes back to what you were saying about talking. You know what I mean? About rather than so there's, I definitely think there's that element. There's understanding how you're displaying in certain situations when you're asked to do something that you're nervous about. I think there might be an opportunity, usually through those types of conversations, if it's back in work, is to I think go at it from an emotionless level and ask the question.
Yeah.
To be honest. I think when you look at how when things start relaxing, once you start building another sacrifice list. So a sacrifice list for me is, that's what you said about cause and effect. If I start working till 8 o'clock at night, my sacrifice list will be 3 hours with my family.
Yeah.
So how does that sacrifice list start building up again?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so looking at your sacrifice list, I think, is important. You've probably not got a lot of... Your sacrifice list will be quite small now because you're in and you're not doing much.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start going out, for every time you go out, even if it's family or what they're talking about, up to 10 individuals, and because I coach in different countries as well. So I'm coaching individuals in Spain and Germany, and Spain are just coming out of it now. So what they're finding is a nervousness about going out,
right,
and a nervousness about going into places where they feel threatened because somebody's just stood at the side of them.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the individuals, the managers that I'm coaching over there, I'm asking them the question around, well, how are you displaying?
Yeah.
So do you ask the person, or do you remove yourself, or do you just explode like a stick of dynamite? Mm-hmm. You know, but everybody will notice the last one, which will cause friction.
Yeah.
So I think the awareness on how you're displaying, I think, will be massive. And also your internal clock and what you're telling yourself. And also the journals. If you're looking back over a week and you can identify 3 or 4 different scenarios that you felt uncomfortable with, of what you're telling yourself and how you displayed, and how long that feeling lasted, how long that emotion lasted, I think that's valuable information to take forward, see you next week or the next month.
Definitely.
So yeah, they're just quick, easy things that you can do for yourself. And I've even if it's, and again, I have this with clients, it's not necessarily about writing words. Sounds daft, that with a journal. I've got a client who's dyslexic, he'll just draw shapes and he knows what they are.
Yeah.
So he'll draw shapes and do different things. Yeah, definitely, yeah. It's not for me to turn around and go, right, you've got to write a journal, you've got to look in a mirror, it's not for me that's not the role of the coach.
Yeah.
The role of the coach is to hold the mirror up and let that individual mould the tools that you're bringing in that suits them. It's like having a swear box at work, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not the swear box, it's not the swearing or putting the money in the box. It's the acknowledgement that you swear in, that you can reflect back on, I'm going to put £4 in that box this week.
Yeah.
I'm putting pennies in. I've done a lot of swearing here.
Yeah.
Just some people forget that bit at the end, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What point did you swear? What happened to make you blow up? I mean, yeah.
Very much so. Yeah. Very much so. So was it on a Wednesday when I was working with Dave Drury, perhaps? I don't know. Yeah. You know, they're the interesting facts that you can pull from these types of exercises. If you just do them as practice, so you just keep putting 10p in a box and you give it to cancer research, and you never ask the question why you're feeling it.
Yeah.
It just becomes a norm, doesn't it? I'm going to carry on swearing, and it'll cost me 10p, and I'll put it.
Yeah.
Sometimes the role of the coach is to refer back and ask the question why, what, trends, feelings, emotions, but then how do you change it going forward?
Yeah. Very valuable advice there, mate. I think people will take a lot from this, definitely. So we'll end there anyway. I appreciate your time. Thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the episode and the conversation. We'll see you next time.
I hope you enjoyed that episode.